Hi, it's Andrea Goeglein, and today I'm going to talk for a little bit longer than usual, just about 4 or 5 minutes, on the VIA strength of bravery. Now, this one's near and dear to my heart because I do not view myself as a brave person. However, I was the person who, a long time ago, as you can tell from the picture, wrote a book called Don't Die Waiting to Be Brave. And it has a lot of my own stories in it, but what I came out of a bunch of life experiences, appreciating and not thinking I was brave, was with the understanding that bravery, because, I watch the news just like everybody else. You see people jumping on railroad tracks to save someone. You see people running into buildings. I mean, from earthquakes to fires, we all see acts of incredible bravery around us. And I haven't been called to do that. And what I do appreciate, though, is that every time you are 1 inch more truthful with yourself and you take a corrective action to improve a relationship, like at work where you've let someone roll over you for a really long time. That's what it means to be brave. Taking that little inch instead of waiting for some gargantuan thing to happen and then you're going to save the entire company. No, it's the small steps. So even though bravery may not be one that comes up in my VIA or in your VIA, do look at your life from those micro moments where you have had the courage to do something and begin to appreciate and empathize what bravery looks like as we grow it. And then I want to read you some quotes, and I want to read you some very specific definitions just so that you can get a real feel for what this particular strength is about. This quote actually comes from Abraham Maslow. And for anyone who's been in the self-help area, the one thing we knew was Maslow's hierarchy and self-actualization, which we really screwed up as to what that really means. But, we were all like going for it. We all got the safety and security one, though, the bottom, like you gotta enter that realm. Well, this is his quote. The great lesson is that the sacred is the ordinary, and that it can be found in one's daily life, in one's neighbors, friends, family, and in its own backyard. It is a really interesting attribute when you begin to look around for your bravery everywhere. This quote has a lot to do with curiosity. And yes, it does have bravery has a lot to do with curiosity. It has to do with your willingness. So now I'll give you some more technical terms. And this is, like, what does it mean to be brave? We're approaching the anniversary of a time that I actually stood up in a Catholic church and had a priest stop speaking because I felt that what he was saying was in fact so out of character for what I had come to church for. Now, yes, that little story is in this book, and yeah, it changed me that day. But what that was, it was a voluntary act. I saw something happening around me. I saw people getting really agitated. I heard things that shocked me, and very involuntary, I leapt up. Now, it involves judgment. I didn't just someone started speaking and I stopped what I was doing and said, oh no, you can't say that. I actually sat and observed for a very long time. Probably, 5-10 minutes. I was watching what was going on around me. And it was a pretty spontaneous moment because everything had kind of gotten to a very heightened level. I mean, there was some crazy stuff going on in this church that day. And then this is the important thing about the VIA strength, bravery. Bravery requires the presence of danger, loss, risk, or potential injury. Now, hey, if you've ever spoken up in a group and you know you're going to be on the outside of that group, excuse me, the potential for loss, the potential for injury, the potential for anything is really great. And in that particular case for me, the loss had to do with my identity, my identity in the association with that church. I mean, it was my identity, the roots to my parents, everything. But I was willing to risk it in that moment. So if you have bravery in your, as one of your VIAs, I want to give you some other attributes of it, just so that you can get it. It really is supporting courage. You know, it is not this willy-nilly recklessness. There is an emphasis on truth-telling. You know, we look at people who have done things, those that have spoken out in churches about lots of different subjects, from, you know, financial wrongdoing to sexual child abuse, within political systems, people walking away from their own careers because they are willing to stand for something that they perceive to be the truth. Strong leadership, you know, being willing to be mocked and made wrong, even when you know you will lose. That's bravery. Again, there's a lot of judgment going on. Judgment meaning cognitive thinking. You're actually weighing the risks, but the risk is more important that you are brave enough to speak your truth than it is to go along to get along. Trust. You have to trust yourself. It helps to have other people around you that you trust. Clear expectations of behavior. You know, what's going to happen? You know, sometimes we know, sometimes we don't. And community ties. It's amazing how much more brave we're willing to be when we have community ties and we're actually helping other people. I want you to know that there is a fabulous movie that I just got to see, and it's called Gran Turismo. And I am not a PlayStation. Do I look like a girl who uses PlayStation? But there is a moment in this film where a man needs to tell the truth as he knows it to be by video evidence, and he's being coerced. You know, what difference does it make? This other thing would be better. And it's all about a marketing decision. I mean, like, it's kind of crazy stuff. And the man decided to hold his ground because of what he believed and knew to be the truth. And then others trusted him too and went along with it. So know that in our day-to-day lives, even when we don't have bravery as a VIA strength, it is something that we really need. And we need it to notice. We need to notice it on those really tiny, small places, so that when the big stuff happens, we will be able to show up. You know, I really wouldn't recommend standing up in the middle of your, you know, your church or your synagogue or wherever you go, and stopping an event dead. You know, that was the situation. You know, it was kind of like the church was on fire as far as I was concerned, and I needed to save at least some of the people. Think about bravery. If you have it as one of your strengths, think it through, and then even if you don't, see where you can add it. I am Andrea Goeglein. I sure as heck love these values and actions. I hope you find the time to become braver. And please subscribe. Thank you.